Welcome, you guys. Why did I not know this sooner? Look at these mitered corners. They are absolutely perfect. And now I'm going to show you how to do this very easily. Take your quilt block and fusible batting. I'm using Flieseline H630 and fuse it to your quilt block. Then cut your backing fabric 1 inch larger than your quilt block. It's Easter this weekend, so I decided to make a few Easter coasters. I used my Easter egg quilt block pattern and made a whole bunch of quilt blocks. By the way, this pattern is perfect to use up your fabric scraps. Now fold in the backing fabric 1/2 inch twice all the way around your quilt block and give it a real good press. To attach my quilt block to the backing fabric, I'm using spray-based. Of course, you could also use pins. I personally just prefer spray-based. You can now quilt your quilt block. I'm just stitching once around the egg. Now that your quilt block is firmly attached to your backing, you fold the coaster on the bias. Make sure the edges align nicely. Then you use a fabric pen or a pencil and draw a straight line from the edge or corner of your quilt block to the first pressing line. Make sure this line is at a right angle to the fold and stitch along that line. Then you cut off the corner with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now it's time to fold in the self-binding. By the way, it's called self-binding if you're using the backing fabric as a binding. Use some scissors to push out the edge nicely and fold the binding under. Now you repeat this for all 4 corners. This is what the coaster should look like by now. Once you're done, you now clip the binding in place all the way around it and stitch in place with a small seam allowance. Again, you could of course use pins. I personally prefer those clips because I keep on poking myself with pins. Now stitch the binding in place with a small seam allowance. You can do this either with your sewing machine or by hand. You can also get creative and use one of those fancy stitches on your machine. What do you say? Doesn't this just look absolutely perfect? A nice and clean look, quick and easy. Now, how many coasters are you going to make for Easter? Cheers and happy Easter!